Hello everyone, it's Shel C from PaperOcotilloStudio, and today I'm sharing with you my third in the series of art journal pages made with crazy pages that other people have sent me. I have a plastic container with all the things that I haven't used yet, and that's what I'm going through right now, trying to come up with an idea for my page. This is in a homemade journal, the very first one I ever made about 3 years ago, and I'm trying to finish it up, so I want to make some more pages in it. Crazy Pages is a continuous collaboration from Ayala Art Channel, and she has a Facebook group, and people are invited to come and join in, and then everyone sends a crazy page, whatever that might mean to you, to everyone else. And then we've all had a video hop where we showed how we made our pages, and then we're independently working on whatever way we would like to use what we were sent by the other art tubers who participated. So this day I wanted to use this little house page from Beagrab, and that was what it was inspiring my page. Also, I was trying to use like the warmer colors. The last two pages that I've done had a lot of blue, purple type colors because those were the pages that I picked out. And today I wanted to do more fall colors. So I was picking out the bits and pieces, trying to come up with an idea of what to do with the warmer colors and this house page. She had used her whatever type of a cutting machine, like a silhouette or something, I don't know, to cut her pages into that shape and then decorate them. And I thought it was really cute, and I liked the idea of home and your town and thinking about where you live and what you like about it. And I've been thinking about that stuff recently, so I wanted to do something with houses and home and things like that. So her page is slightly too big for my book, so I did have to trim it down, but it did have that overlap where the idea was that you could fold it and then bind it with other pages on that edge, which is a really fun idea, which I would like to have, several of those pages and make a book out of it. But anyway, the first thing I'm doing is just covering my background. When I made this book, I made it with all different types of papers. There's some watercolor paper, there's some manila, there's just different papers, mixed media paper in there. And I didn't realize how weird that would be to have different papers on different pages. So I either need to gesso each page as I go, or else, like I'm doing now, I can collage a background onto it. This piece of paper was a self-made envelope out of probably scrapbooking paper that was sent by Ayala Art Marta. That her page was inside of it. She folded it into an envelope and addressed it and sent it that way. And so I saved all that stuff. I saved the stamps. I saved any pretty envelopes, even the insides of some of the envelopes. I saved everything that I received in the mail. And I've just been using all of it in different ways because I don't want to waste anything. So I went ahead and collaged those sections of that envelope paper on just to cover the background. There's places where it's torn because it was an envelope and it had to be opened, but that's fine. I can cover that up with my design. It was just to cover the paper completely. And then I decided, because of the surface that I got on there with the paper and the matte medium, that I would just go ahead and put a light coat of gesso over the whole thing just to kind of even everything out and make it all the same. Sometimes I do that. Also, it kind of calms down the stripy pattern a little bit, but I thought more of the stripy pattern would show, and it did not end up showing hardly at all. So the gessoing section probably really had no purpose at all. Then I used my big cutter to trim down as much as I could this page to make it fit. It's still just a little bit too big, but I didn't want to ruin any part of it. I didn't want to lose any part of it. So I trimmed off the bottom and I trimmed off that one strip on the side. And then I wanted to have like some mountains in the background. So I had this leftover tissue paper from the inside of a spa kit that had oh, face mask and lotion and whatever inside. It was like a little sampler pack that had this pretty paper inside. And I decided to use that as the mountain range in the background because it's not going to be super obvious, but yet it's still there. And then I also thought I needed a little bit of ground in the front of the houses I was planning on putting in there. So I put that same tissue paper across the bottom of the page as well. I'm using matte medium, and the one that I'm mostly using, well, I finished up what was left of my poor little Liquitex matte gel medium, and so I'm using this Dina Wakley gel medium until I get some more of that Liquitex. The Liquitex gel is my favorite. But of course you need to have all different types of glues depending on what kind of papers you're using. And this lightweight paper actually works really well with Dina Wakley's matte medium, which is kind of a gel formula, but it's looser, kind of softer than the Liquitex one that I normally use. Now this is heavy paper, and so I'm putting on some white glue, some tacky, Aleene's tacky glue, and also the matte medium on the back of this piece because it's big and it's heavy, and I wanted it to really, really stick down to my page and, be cohesive with it. So that's the reason that I did something strange like that. Put a little bit of extra heavy glue on there to get it to glue down. The heavier paper, the bigger the piece is, the more heavy glue, either heavy gel medium or some other type of a heavier glue that you got to use when you're gluing these things down. So then this little tag with some scraps sewn onto it is almost also a house shape, and it was in somebody's package. I can't remember who, I'm sorry, but I didn't go through and write down every single little bit and bob who it came from, because that's just silly. I'm just planning on using them all as a cohesive unit. They're all crazy pages all together. I wanted to make this building taller, so I used a piece of text weight paper that was in somebody's package and made it like a two-story towering type of a building, tall, because I needed it to at least somehow kind of reach the same height as the bigger house. But this isn't going to be proportionate. None of it is. Even the little windows and doors, they're not proportionate to this silhouetted person that came on Bea's page. It's not proportionate. It's the idea of what I'm doing, not necessarily the exactitude of what I'm doing, if you know what I mean. It doesn't have to be. It's art. It's subjective. It's what you see when you look at it, not what it actually is. That's the way art is. It doesn't have to be, unless you're a realism person, that's different. If you're doing realism, your proportions have to be accurate. You've got to be, you can't make anything out of proportion, or that's not realistic. But in the case of these whimsical, fun play pages, it doesn't have to be proportionate. There's no reason for it to be. In fact, the bigger house being the home is makes it more important in the composition than the other buildings. So it being bigger like that is fine. It's what I meant it to be, not, what somebody else thought about it should be. So then after I have made a few of my different little buildings on here, I need to make details on them, make windows and doors and whatever to be on there. So the little door at the bottom of that piece was cut out, so I had glued another piece on the back to make a blue door on there. But that big lady would never fit through there. She'd have to crawl or even snake crawl on her tummy to get in there. So that's just the way things are, people. Art is subjective. So also I put another little tinier, just for balance, I put another tiny little house that could be in front of the bigger house over on that right hand side to balance the composition. It seemed to be a bit off. So that's the type of stuff that you learn to see I don't know. There are rules of composition, there are, but I never learned them. It's just, how is it balanced in my opinion? How does it all flow with my eyes and my brain? And maybe you think it's completely out of whack, but that's your brain and your eyes, and that's how it is. So I used some of this red crinkly paper, which I found out is what some Italian oranges that are imported to Switzerland are wrapped in. That's what that red crinkly paper is. You've seen it in another package that I received, the mystery envelope collaboration that was last week or the week before. That crinkly paper with the horse in the middle. I received that in this package as well. I thought it was cheese. I thought it must wrap up a piece of cheese, but it's not. It's Italian oranges. I would actually like to taste these Italian oranges. I think it would be really fun. But anyway, I don't live in Switzerland, so that's too bad. That little piece is from the inside of an envelope that I had left over from last week, or last Crazy Pages 2. And I put a roof on with that same stripy paper on top of the tag, and then I ended up covering it up because I didn't like it. It blends in too much to the background. And for the door on the building with the rounded top of its roof, I used a stamp, a postage stamp off of somebody's package to make the little doorway. And then there's a little torn piece that came from another person's page of a little tiny painted tree on top of a map. And I just tore that one little section out and put it there like there was a little bush or tree in this landscape or cityscape or townscape or villagescape or whatever it is. I wanted a little bit more blue on this right hand side, so I put a little window, and then I found this one little scrap to do the roof, and it had blue on it too, so I liked that. Balancing the colors, making sure that if there's red on one side, there's red on the other side. If there's blue on one side, there's blue on the other side. That's another thing that you have to think about when your eye is flowing around the page. So then I ended up changing the roof on this one in the background with the little tag. I didn't like that brown stripy piece after all. So change that. So I'm just looking through the little scraps that I have and cutting pieces out of them, trimming the edges of the page where things overlap. This book is going to be fun in the end. It's very colorful and just has a lot of interesting pages in it. It was one that traveled around the world to other people, and so some of the pages in it were done by someone else, and then some of them are mine. So now to the detailing. I decided to use a Stabilo All pencil. This is a very water reactive pencil that you can buy individually, and this thing is great for making watery shadows around things. I could also use a pen and blend it with my finger or something like that, or I could use some paint, but this pencil, I tend to reach for that thing a lot because it really makes something that has very hard, rough edges and a lot of things are glued on there and a lot of layers of different papers that are different thicknesses and different, shapes and a lot of straight edges, makes it look more organic because I'm using my water brush to blend out that I don't want to call it lead because it's not lead. It might be some type of a graphite, I don't know, but it's extremely water reactive, like more than other things that might be called a watercolor pencil. It's just the minute it touches water, just very easy to blend. And I'm using a water tank brush for that. You could also just use a little round brush dipped in water. That would be fine too. But I'm going around all the glued pieces and creating like a shadow behind or around them to make them all look more cohesive. This really brings things together. It's something that you should always do when you're doing a collage, is to go around the edges and add a shadow And then you can go on the inside edges and add a highlight, and it makes it even more dimensional. So that's a personal choice, but I don't know. Going from what it was to what it is now, huge difference. Huge difference. So then I get out a Posca pen, I think is what's next. No, I'm messing with that red paper again. I'm not sure. I must be cleaning up. Oh, there's the Posca pen. To put on some door handles and some window bar, things to make paned windows and, stuff like that. A little cross on top of the domed building, I think I did. That one I just drew on a little window because there wasn't any windows on it. And that's just a fine tip black Posca pen. And then I get out some alphabet stamps. I have quite a collection of alphabet stamps. These are from Stampin' Up. I'm very doubtful that any of them can still be purchased. I will look and put links in the description box below for which ones they are if they're still available. Maybe sometimes people sell stuff on Amazon that's discontinued. I might be able to find it, but alphabet stamps, alphabet stamps. You'll find something that's similar, if not the same. So I stamped the word home across the big house above the lady's head, and she's kind of putting her arms up like, it's home. This is my home. This is where, check it out. It's awesome. This is where I live and where I exist and where I love. And then I stamped the words with the smaller letters, city, village, and town, just here and there around the composition, so that it gives, I don't know. I just wanted those words on there. I liked the way the words looked. It brings in that kind of graphic nature of things just to have some letters on there. Sometimes I just put random letters for no reason, or numbers. Then I get out my white Posca pen. I sure didn't use very much materials on this except for a couple pens, some glue, and all the different papers that I was given. And so it was an easy and fun play day in my studio this morning. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment or question below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share if you think somebody would enjoy this. Also, you can use the words crazy pages in the search bar on YouTube, and you'll come up with all kinds of different videos from the different times that there's been crazy pages. I think this one is the second round or maybe the third. I'm not sure. But other people's, the same stuff that I received, they've made pages with it. You can go and check them out. And then, of course, previous ones. It's fun. It's a fun collaboration, and I really enjoy doing stuff like this with other art tubers. I think it's probably something that's my very favorite thing to do, is do this and challenges. I like to do collaborations and challenges. Those are my kind of things. But anyway, I'm just adding some highlights with the white Posca pen, and then I think I get out a red fine tip Posca pen from that, same set of colors, and go around the word home with the red instead of the white to make it stand out a little bit more from the background. And then I also draw a little heart up in that window right above everyone's head there, so that it kind of portrays the idea of loving your home. So that's it for me for today. I hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.